Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video I'm doing a BJD face up, and if you've seen my box opening for this head, it's by Rumpledoll and it's a Abaddon head. I go through how I opened it and everything and what body fits it and stuff. So in this video I'll be doing a face up for it. So I usually start off using a varnish to put down a matte varnish, so it has a tooth for all of the paint and pastels to stick to. So I use a Liquitex matte medium, and it is the one that mixes with water, and I actually airbrush it on. So I don't use Mr. Super Clear, I don't really like it, so I've never had a problem with this Liquitex one, so I highly recommend it. You just have to spray it on with a brush. So I start off using some pastels, soft pastels, and I usually put my base colour as orange for some reason. I just like the way it looks rather than a pink or a red or something like that. So usually, yeah, I use the orange from my soft pastel set. And this is my first grey doll. It's my first doll that's not just the regular, you know, set of colours that you can get. So something completely different, and I wanted to actually have it as a muted colour, so lots of greys and blacks and stuff like that in it, and I wanted to have a colour in it that actually makes it pop a little bit. So that will be in the markings that I'll put on his face. So I'm starting off just laying down some pastels on the mouth as well in with some black pastels, and I wanted this one to be bald, so I'm going to be putting down the head of hair, just outlining it with the pastels, and then I'm going to be drawing it on with some they're called Intense pencils from Derviant. So I find them to be quite well, because when you spray the matte medium on it, it sort of makes it liquefy a little bit, and it turns it into a paint rather than just having pencil marks. So I find that to be quite good as well. So just putting down some base colour with some black pastels, just so there's not too much grey underneath the hair pattern. So then I can add some more details on top of this. You can do it the other way around, it's no problem at all if you find that you just want to have the pencil markings and not the colour underneath. You can always add it later anyway. And I used more of a scratchy brush for this one, so it leaves some streaking texture as well, and that will add to the hair texture rather than a soft brush and just sort of swirling it around. Right, so just adding some more details to the eye area, and I usually like to seal my layers a couple of layers at a time, just so you can build on the colouring and the textures as well. So this has been resealed again with that Liquitex matte medium. So I'm just adding a little bit of black around the eyelid area just to darken it. I don't want him to sort of look like he has makeup on or anything, but I wanted to give him a different sort of look. And I've tried a lot of different ways to do eyebrows, and I find just using a really thin tip brush and just brushing it on with some watered down acrylic paints work best for me. But I know people that use pencils and just pastels and whatever, but just whatever works for you. I just like using watered down paint for this. So I wanted to make the eyebrows on this guy a little bit more bushy and a bit more like unkept. So I sort of made the inner part of the brows a bit more, the hairs a bit longer. And it's always good to just rotate your head around to make sure that you have the actual brows, they are symmetrical. So yeah, just rotate your object that you're painting on to see it from all angles, and it will point out any things that look a bit odd or a bit off. So moving on to the hair, and I'm using the Intense pencil to draw in all of the little details of the hairs onto the head. And you know, you can do this with paint or anything, but I wanted to try out the pencil to see how it worked, and it just gives it a little bit more of a different texture as well. It's always important to just have a look at some reference photos for the way the hair direction goes as well, especially on a shaved head or any sort of thing that you're drawing with hair. Just jump on Google and just Google some hair pictures and just follow the references on which direction the hair goes. Alright, so moving on to the eyelashes, and I'm doing the same deal as the eyebrows and just going in with that fine tipped brush and painting it in with some watered down acrylic paint. And I'm also just going to go around the eyes and just line it with a thin line of black, because I don't want him to look like he has eyeliner or anything on. I just want it to look like he has sort of darkish sort of eyes. So usually with all of my dolls I put some kind of marking on their face, so I wanted this one to be a bit different, and I'm just going to go with a large marking across the nose area. I haven't done a marking like this before, so I wanted it to look like it was painted on, so I just sort of dipped my brush in a bit of acrylic paint, and not too much because I didn't want like a thick white paint line. I wanted more of this sort of effect where it's like a bit dry and a bit strokey. And then I wanted to put some pink, so I wanted the pink to be the main colour of the face markings, and I thought it worked really well with the grey. So I put these markings on it, but I wasn't really happy with the ones on the side, so I ended up just sort of taking a little bit of paint off and having it more of a line, but this was after I actually had a look at it a little while. So I'm just putting some little sheen on it right now. It's a jacquard powder. You just have to be careful not to inhale it, because it does say on the packaging not to inhale that stuff. So I'm attaching the eyelashes this time, and I just used a fake pair of eyelashes from Daiso. You can find any cheap lashes as well, and I just trimmed them down a little bit to make sure that they're not too long for the doll, so especially for male dolls as well, because their eyelashes aren't as long. So I just trimmed them down, and then you can see how I've removed the markings. There's still a little bit of residue, but I actually don't mind that look. But yeah, pretty happy with the way the face up turned out. And I also put in some Mako eyes as well, just ones that I had spare, so these won't be his permanent eyes. But they have grown on me a little bit, so I'm not too sure if I'll keep them. They've got like I think they're from the Moon series, and they've got a yellow pupil and some purple around the outside. And then I decided I wanted to put some scarring effect on his face, and then I realised as I was doing it that Mod Podge dries clear, so you can actually still see the eyebrow through the scar, which that's fine. I can redo his face up at one point, but not too fussed about that. I can also add some colouring to the scarring effect as well if I wanted to actually drown it out, but I've sort of just left it to dry clear, and then I can proceed from there if I like the scarring effect or not. So yeah. And here's a quick shot of the final face up, and there's a couple of little freckle details on there too that I forgot to film as well. So let me know what you think. And that is it for me today, guys. I hope you liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. If you have any video requests, you can leave it in the comments down below. You can also check me out on Instagram and Facebook at Creatures of Net, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!